Hey everybody. All right, so today we're going to be doing multiple blends. I usually do one at a time, but what do you do when you have multiple issues to deal with and you want to try to figure out how to get a nice little regimen going with several different blends at a time? So I'm going to show you how to do that today. All right, you guys, so we're back and we're going to do 3 blends today. And I'm going to kind of walk you through why I'm making these blends and how you can do something similar at home. And then how you would go about using those to manage several different issues. So a lot of times when you have something chronic going on, multiple symptoms come with that. And you may be trying to figure out, man, how do I manage so many different oils and so many different combinations at a time? So we're going to show you how to do that. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I do when I'm making a blend for a client, obviously I've talked to them in detail. I get a good idea of a full picture of what's happening with them, physically and emotionally, different questions they may have, aromas that they enjoy, all of that kind of thing all together. And that all goes into my fancy system. And so I really literally, after talking to them and thinking about them, a lot of science goes into aromatherapy because you're thinking about the chemistry of the oils. You're thinking about the symptoms that you're trying to support, the systems of the body that you want to support. You're thinking about what the person is already taking into their body, how they're doing nutritionally, what medications they might be on. All of that is included, and then there's a lot of just intuitive thinking about the person and situation that will help me to come up with the perfect blend for them. So in this situation, we're dealing with multiple issues. So viral infection, so think of like a viral infection, fungal, something like that, that you want support helping your immune system to work with something like that. And then having lots of anxiety around being not only this infection, but being chronically ill on top of that and having some physical and emotional trauma to deal with, some discomfort all around that. And then lastly, difficulty sleeping, getting good quality sleep. And so we're going to be addressing all 3 of those issues. I'm going to show you how to make the blends, and then I'm going to talk to you about how you would incorporate those. So for these blends that I'm making today, I'm doing what I call stock blends. And so if you guys follow me, you've seen me make these before. These are some of my favorite little bottles. I love these little things. And the reason where you might want to make a stock blend is when you're not ready to add the carrier oil yet, or you know you want to use this same blend for like an inhaler, but you also want to use it for bath salts, and you also want to use it in a carrier oil. In that case, you could just go ahead and put your oils in here, and then when you're ready to make your actual blend, you can just pour from here. Okay, so we're going to make those, 2 of those, and then an inhaler. So let's get started. And I'm using a different setup here, so I'm hoping you guys can see okay. We'll see how this goes. So we're going to start out first with the blend for the infection. And so what we're trying to do here is work with the immune system to boost it, to support it. And we know that these plants are really great at doing that. So the first one we're going with is thyme. And I'm going to put about 10 to 15 drops of each of this. Now, when you're making your actual blend, you know you're not going to put a lot of drops in your actual blend. You're going to probably put 10 to 12 drops total in a 30 milliliter. But for this, because this is a stock blend, we're going to do about 10 to 12 drops of each of the oils. That makes sense? And thyme comes in a chemotype, and if you look in your screen there, you'll see which chemotype I'm using for that. And then tea tree. We're going to do the same thing with tea tree, and this is going to be a really, hopefully you guys can see that drip out of there pretty good. So it's about 13 or 14 drops there. And I'm going for 10 to 15 of each. and then lavender. So a lot of times we think of lavender for relaxation and things like that, but it's actually really powerful for the immune system as well. And let's go for about 10 to 15 of those. Okay, that's about 16. And it's not quite full. We have a little bit more space that we could put something in there. But I'm happy with that. And so this is, and boy, you guys, that smells really amazing. The lavender, it's funny, the lavender kind of took over that a little bit. We'll let that settle for a little bit and we'll come back and give it a whiff and see if there's something I want to add to that. So this blend, again, is to help to support this person's system as they're fighting an infection. And this can be added to a carrier oil. I'll be advising them to add this to a carrier oil and to use it in a massage. I would not have them put this one in a bath just because the tea tree could get a little spicy there in a bath. But they can use it in a massage. They could use it in an inhaler. They could use it with a lotion. And so this just gives them some options of how they want to use it, and they can make a little bit at a time. So that's blend number one. And blend number two is going to be for relaxation and sleep. So this blend is to help the person to relax from the physical and emotional trauma that they've been through. And this is pretty much the purpose of this one. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so that was about 12 drops of ylang-ylang. All right, and we're using that specifically for the type of trauma that this person is dealing with, because it's emotional and physical, and ylang-ylang is really good for both of those. And then we're going to do bergamot. It's also incredibly relaxing, and this is something that I want them to be using right before bedtime. Bergamot. We did 15 of that one. And interestingly, I'm using bergamot. We often think about when there's depression. It's really nice and supportive. You see me use this a lot for morning blends because it gives you kind of a boost. But I'm using it in this blend because bergamot is also actually really good for pain and discomfort, abdominal pain and discomfort. So if you're also experiencing some cramping, nausea, that type of thing with whatever you're going through chronically, bergamot is a nice one to add. It's going to help you with the emotional stress behind that, but also the physical stress. And so that's a really good one. And it's not going to disrupt the person's sleep. It is still going to be very relaxing. And then lastly, cedarwood, for its grounding effect, for its emotional support, and for its relaxing properties. This is one of my favorite blends for myself at night. If I need some support sleeping, is cedarwood and lavender. That is a beautiful blend to knock you right out. Nice and naturally. And you'll have a beautiful sleep instead of like a groggy feeling. All right, I'm going to count 10 more. Don't want a lot of cedarwood. So, quite a bit of cedarwood in there. So again, this one for sleep, emotional support, physical support, was ylang-ylang, bergamot, and cedarwood. And it smells so good. I'm going to let that sit for a minute too. Because you know what? The first whiff smelled really good, and then there was a little bitterness. So I'm probably going to add something to that. So that's why you want the drop-by-drop method. And you want to just kind of let it sit and breathe for a minute, and you can go back and see. So I'm actually going back to the infection one, infection fighter, and I'm going to give this a whiff. Oh no, that one's nice. Yep, I'm happy with that one. Here it is. The other thing you do want to make sure of when you're using this, you want to make sure the orifice reducer is clipped in there. And so obviously have your hands clean before you start making the blend, even if it's for yourself. Definitely if it's for somebody else. I get some extra there. I'm happy with that aroma, so I'm going to leave that one be. And this one I'm going to double back and work on a little bit. And the last one is going to be an inhaler blend. So the purpose of this blend is I wanted to give a little extra support when it comes to emotional relaxation. Relaxation and sleep is huge for this client. And so I wanted to give a couple of different options for that. And we're going to do the drop-by-drop method of making an inhaler. A lot of times when I make an inhaler with you guys, I usually will put the oils in a bowl, especially when I'm using several different oils. I usually use like 3 to 4. I'll put them in a bowl and soak this. But today I'm only using 2 oils, and I'm just going to put it right in here and put the oil directly in there and let it just soak in that way. And so I'm using a blend called Joy. If you look in your screen there, it'll tell you the ingredients of Joy. It smells amazing. I love the way Joy smells. And so I'm putting 12 drops of that. Okay. That was about 12 drops. I'm not very exact with my drops. I like to feel it and say, okay, that's enough. I wish you guys could smell this with me. Ah, the Joy is really, really nice. Now, frankincense, I don't always love the smell of frankincense. Some people really love the smell of frankincense, but it's very relaxing. And so what I want is a combination of relaxation and support for sleep. So if the person uses this inhaler during the day, it's not that it's going to make them sleepy, but it will help them feel grounded and settled and be able to kind of deal with the emotional trauma a little bit more. And then on top of that, when they're ready for some relaxing sleep, they can also use the inhaler, especially if they need an extra boost after they've used the massage oil. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the frankincense. And you just want to kind of let that Joy absorb in there really good. It smells so good. And you have to kind of play with the aroma because I know that frankincense is going to change the aroma. I love the aroma of Joy. So let's see. I think I'm just going to put maybe 5 of that in there. I really do like putting it in the bowl because I feel like it's really soaking it up. It's soaking it up here too. I just like the feeling of kind of twirling it around in the bowl. You just feel like you're soaking every little bit of it. But the thing about putting it directly in the tube is that you're going to be using, she'll be using this inhaler from this end. So you know that she's getting all of it because it's going right in there. And you want to make sure that you use organic cotton with your inhaler. Because cotton is something that's heavily sprayed. And this is going in your nose, and so you don't want to add those chemicals in there. So just make sure that cotton is organic. Oh, that turned out so nice, you guys. Oh, give it a whiff. I'm really surprised. Oh, that's beautiful. So this is going to be really, really relaxing for her to be able to, again, support sleep, to support overcoming some emotional trauma as she works with the physical aspect too. And so here's how the inhaler works. Make sure that snaps in. And you just take this out. I love these. These are really, really good to use, especially for emotional issues. Really anything that you want to get essential oils into your system quickly. I love inhalers. Because remember, it's going right into the olfactory system, and the olfactory bulb is embedded into the limbic system. So it's going right into your central nervous system. Okay, so it really, really is a quick and effective way to make a change in how you're feeling, even how you're thinking. This is a great one too if you're having brain fog. Anything that's happening with you emotionally, this is going to get in there really fast. You're going to see some amazing results. Okay, so we've got the 3 blends done, and so now I just want to talk to you a little bit about how you will switch these out. And so sometimes people will ask, can I use too many essential oils? Of course you can. Just like anything that's plant-based, just because it's plant-based doesn't mean that you could never, it's impossible to use too much of it. You can. And so what you want to do is, for one, work with your aromatherapist or your aromaspecialist or your essential oil specialist really closely, and talk to them about how you're feeling as you're using the oils. If you're using quite a bit of essential oils and you're starting to feel kind of lethargic, or your skin is getting sensitive, or you're starting to feel nauseous or getting headaches, those are signs that you're using too much. You absolutely can use too much. The essential oils are very gentle to your system, though, so you would have to be using quite a bit, and a lot of times it happens when they're being used neat, meaning you're not using a carrier. So even though I put these blends together with no carrier, my client is being advised to use these with a carrier, and I just realized, I hope I didn't mix these up, but I know by smell, so I can put them correctly with the right label. So she'll be advised to add carrier oil with that, so as not to cause some of that sensitization that can happen. Okay. In really acute situations, especially if you're working with a healthcare practitioner, like an aromatherapist or a health coach or functional medicine practitioner, naturopath, if you're working with someone, they may advise you to use an oil blend even up to every hour. In rare occasions, you might have to use it like that, and sometimes a viral infection might be one of those times, or a burn, or a really acute trauma that's happening. You may have to use it more often for a little while, but make sure you're working with someone before you do something like that. But just for yourself, 3 times a day is fine to be using that, and you can use them, all these different blends. So altogether, we've used 8 different oils, and it's going to be completely fine for her to use all 3 of these every single day. And that's going to be fine for most people. And this is a client that I know, and her system will be fine with this. So if you're using something, and especially if you're working with an infection, I would do that 3 times a day. You can do that up to 3 times a day. The inhaler, totally as needed. When you know when you're feeling that brain fog, or that tension, or that sadness coming over you, or you just need to relax or reconnect, you can just take out the inhaler and use it as needed. And then the same thing with the sleep. If she wants to use this whatever evening is coming around, she wants to settle down and make sure she's getting a really good amount of sleep, she could use it every night. Okay, so these are mild in your system. You just want to make sure that you're using a carrier, and that you are working with somebody with it, and that you kind of are switching it out. And here's what I mean by that. So if you have a sleep, for example, a sleep blend like this, I love having at least 2 sleep blends, so that one night you're using one, and the next night you're using another one. You just kind of switch back and forth with the blend. And in this case, this person technically could use this one for sleep support as well. So she may choose to use this one night and this the next night. It's not so much that it would be too much to use them both in the same day. She absolutely could. The thing is, our bodies like change. And so sometimes, have you noticed that you'll get an oil and it'll be your favorite, and you'll use it and it works like perfectly. And then after a while, you're like, it's not working anymore. It's not the same. It's not giving me that same thing. Our bodies like change, and so sometimes you move into a new normal type of thing. So when you switch it up and then switch it back, our bodies like that. So that gives some variety. So this is how you can kind of deal with multiple issues at the same time. I'll be doing several of these videos for several different combinations of issues, but I just wanted to give you a little look-see as I created some oils for a particular client. If you've got questions, put them right there in the comments. Please, if you like the information, subscribe and share. I appreciate all my viewers. I appreciate you guys coming out and taking a look. And please do ask questions. I'm happy to support you as you make your blends at home. All right, take care.